Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States, Davy P. Long.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, President Pro Tempore of the Senate, my colleagues in the Congress, our distinguished guests, and my fellow Americans, to address a joint session of the Congress in this great chamber in which I was once privileged to serve is an honor of which I am very grateful. I have only 30 minutes in which to speak to you this evening, and therefore I will not be able to discuss in detail so much as I can write when I have all the time and space that is allowed to me for the subjects. But I'll undertake to sketch them very briefly, without manuscript or preparation, so that you can understand them so as well as I can tell them to you tonight. I contend, my friends, that we have no difficult problem to solve in America, and that is the view of nearly everyone with whom I have discussed the matter here in Washington and elsewhere throughout the United States, that we have no very difficult problem to solve. It is not the difficulty of the problem which we have. It is in fact that the rich people of this country, and by rich people I mean the super rich, will not allow us to solve problems, or rather that one little problem is that affecting the country, because in order to cure all of our woes it is necessary to scale down the big fortunes, that we may scatter the wealth to be shared by all the people. We have a marvelous love for this government of ours. In fact, it is almost a religion. And it is well that it should be, because we have a splendid form of government, and we have a splendid set of laws. We have everything here that we need, except we have neglected the fundamentals upon which the American government was principally predicated. How many of you remember the first thing that the Declaration of Independence said? It said, we held these truths to be self-evident, that there are certain inalienable rights for the people, and among them are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It said further, we hold the view that all men are created equal. Now, what did they mean by that? Did they mean, my friends, to say that all men are created equal, so that meant that any one man was born to inherit $100 billion, another child was to be born to inherit nothing? Did that mean, my friends, that someone would come to this country without having an opportunity, and of course, to have hit one lick of work, should be born with more than it and all of its children and children's children could ever dispose, but another one should have to be born into a life of starvation? That was not the meaning of the Declaration of Independence when it said that all men were created equal, or that we hold that all men are created equal. Nor was it the meaning of the Declaration of Independence when it said that they held that there were certain rights that were inalienable, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Is that right of life, my friends, where the young children of this country are being reared in a sphere which is owned by 12 men? Is it? Is that, my friends, giving them a fair shake of the dice, or anything of the inalienable right to life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness? Or anything resembling that fact, that all people are created equal, when we have today in America hundreds of thousands and millions of children in poverty and in starvation, in a land that is overflowing with too much to eat and too much to wear? I do not think that you'll contend with that, and I do not think for a moment that they will contend with that. I refer to the scriptures now, my friends, and give you what it says for the purpose of convincing you of the wisdom of myself, not for the purpose of, ladies and gentlemen, of convincing you of the fact that I'm quoting the scriptures means that I am to be more believed than someone else. But I quote the scripture, or rather refer to the scripture, because whatever you see, there you may rely upon, will never be disproved so long as you or your children, or anyone may love, or you further depend upon the fact that not one historical fact that the Bible has ever contained has ever yet been disproved by any scientific discovery, or by any reason of anything that has been disclosed to man through his own individual mind, or through the wisdom of the Lord, which the Lord has allowed him to have. But the scripture says, ladies and gentlemen, that no country can survive, or for a country to survive it is necessary that we may keep the wealth scattered among the people, that nothing should keep the wealth scattered among the people, that nothing should be held permanently by any one person, and that 50 years seems to be the year of Jubilee, in which all property would be scattered about and returned to the sources from which it originally came. and every 7th year debt should be remitted. Those two things the Almighty said to be necessary. I should say he knew it to be necessary, or who else he would not have so prescribed that the property would be kept among the general run of the people. I believe that it was the judgment and the view of the law of the Lord that we would have to distribute ever so often, in order that there could not be people starving to death in a land of plenty as there is in America today. We have in America today more wealth, more goods, more food, more clothing, more houses than we've ever had. We have everything in abundance here. We have trouble, my friends, in the country because we have too much money owing. The greatest indebtedness which has ever been given to a civilization, where it has been shown that we are incapable of distributing the actual things that are here, because the people have not the money enough to supply themselves with them. So therefore the Lord said, if you see these things, and they now have occurred and exist in this and other countries, there must be a constant. So the Lord said this in effect. There must be a constant scattering of wealth in any country if this country is to survive. Now let us take America today. We have in America, ladies and gentlemen, $14 trillion of household debt. $14 trillion of debts owed by the various households of this country today. Why, my friends? That cannot be paid. It is not possible for that kind of debt to be paid. The entire currency of America is only $2 trillion. That is all the money that we have got in America today. All the actual money you've got in all of your banks, all that you got in the government treasury, it's $2 trillion. And if you took all that money out, you paid it all, you'd still owe $12 trillion. And if you took that money again, and you paid it all out, you'd owe $10 trillion. You'd have to pay that money tens of times over in order to pay it off. So, my friends, it is impossible to pay all of these debts, and you might as well find out that it cannot be done. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if I may proceed to give you some other words I think you can understand. I'm not going to belabor you by quoting tonight. I'm going to tell you what the wise men of all ages and all times, down to the present day, have said. That you must keep the wealth of the country scattered, and you must limit the amount that any one man can own. You cannot let any one man own $300 billion, $400 billion, or millions or billions. If you do that, one man can own all the wealth of the United States of America. Now, my friends, if you are off on an island where there are 100 lunches, you cannot let one man eat up the 100 lunches, or take the other 100 lunches and not let anyone else eat them. If you did, there would not be anything else for the balance of the people to consume. So, we have in America, my friends, a condition in which the top 0.1% of Americans dominate the means of activity and the wealth of 85% of the rest of the country. Then, ladies and gentlemen, how do you expect people to live when the wherewith cannot be had by the people? So this is what I propose. Every man a king. We do not propose that to divide up the wealth equally. This is not what we're calling for. This is not socialism. And that's not what my administration supports. But we do propose to limit poverty, and we do propose to limit wealth. We're not going to guarantee $1 million to every family. That's not practical. That's not needed. But I do believe that there should be a family wealth guarantee of around $950 per month. That's what we're calling for. We have to limit our fortunes. I have a plan. We limit fortunes around $600 million. Maybe we could do more, depending on how we work with Congress. We can limit our hours of work. We do not need the necessary overproduction. We can have 5 hours a day and 5 days a week. These are the things that we must do if we are going to make every man a king, and if we are going to abolish poverty once and for all in this country. So I ask you, think about it to yourselves. Do you believe that America needs a solution once and for all to abolish poverty in this country and to be a role model to the rest of the world in abolishing poverty? I would say the answer is yes. That's the way I think about it. Put ideology aside, put political alliances aside. We must make every man a king. So thank you, and God bless America.
As being the only representative left standing, the purpose of the joint session having been concluded, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
It's now time to clap.
I'm not clapping.